Hello and welcome to Rediscovering Connection. I am your host, Shelley Doyle, and today I'm here with Michelle Maree, founder and CEO of the Nomad Escape. She has been running retreats for digital nomads for the last 6 years and has recently launched her own community for location independent entrepreneurs. After joining Michelle's community 3 months ago and helping clients around the world to launch their communities, I felt pretty well placed to be asking Michelle all the strategic thought that went into launching her inner circle, as she calls it. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Michelle Maree. Michelle is an open book in this interview. She talks about group size, how intentional that was. She talks about price point, how she pitched that to begin with to attract the right kind of people into her community. And during our interview, Michelle also talks about her very unique experience during the pandemic when a 2-week retreat for entrepreneurs turned into a 5-month co-living experience. So get yourself a cup of tea, sit down, relax, and enjoy our conversation. So welcome, Michelle. How are you?
Thank you. Well, I'm super excited to be here. Your energy is contagious, and I'm always happy to connect and share with people like with your energy. So for me, this is fun. So I'm super excited.
Let's start with the inner circles. I'd love to know like how it came about and why you decided that now was the time to launch.
The inner circle is something that was created very organically, or existed at the end very organically. It's an extension of what I've created over the years, and it's an extension of myself. So for the last 6 years, I've been running the Nomad Escape, and we started basically as, let's say, just digital nomad travels and trips, which ended up becoming more a business and travel and network club. And many people knew that, or know, and that know me, that I travel around the world. I have a very big network, and that I'm constantly engaging and connecting with other entrepreneurs that are always seeking for new opportunities, new business partners, new collaborations. And as people knew me, and my network as well, people kept on asking me like, "Hey, Michelle, can I pick your brain? Can I get access to this person in your network? I am looking for a marketer that can help me grow my, let's say, coaching business, or someone who's building a SaaS product." And focusing on like the needs of the community and knowing that they need like introductions.
And I know for me, when I first saw the price points, I was like an immediate heart yes. Like I didn't have to hesitate. You made it very accessible for, I guess, the right people to be in the room. And and was there much thought that went into a price point and also the number of participants? Because I don't know if you've heard any of my interviews with Robin Dunbar or Richard Bartlett, but there's a big thing about scale. And the number 50 is actually a really critical number. So I wonder if there was much thought behind that number 50 being what you decided upon.
Yeah. Oh, a very interesting question, actually. Yes, there was a thought behind it. And that was actually the target, 50, because I think it's a very good number to create, a very good number of brand ambassadors. So basically, we made it very accessible for people to get in. People who don't understand the value, for them, it's expensive. They're like, "What am I going to pay, whatever, $500 to get into this network? It's just online." And these are already not a good fit. But people like you who understand the value of one potential connection, or just, let's say, a business advice from a fellow entrepreneur, you understand the value out of it. And, we wanted to create that, like, this is a no-brainer for the right people. So we knew 50 is feasible, and we knew at this price point that would be for sure feasible. So it was really well thought through, and we got actually the exact results that we wanted. So yeah, and I think also, like, with a network like this, it's very important to first give that first group so much value that they are so excited that they naturally come with so much great feedback and testimonials. Because actually, if you look in the WhatsApp group, you know, people are posting constantly like, oh my God, Michelle, I had a conversation with this person, was amazing. I hired Youssef, did this. And what I do with all these messages, first of all, I am super happy, like my heart glows. And when I see that, I'm like, wow, I gave these people value way, you know, like way above the number that I charged, basically. So I over delivered, so people are happy. But then also for me, it's like a testimonial. I star it and I screenshot it and I can show that to other people, right? So you guys are the best marketing for me, because I do a great job, people are happy, people start talking, and it makes it easier for the network to grow. And also for you guys, like, this is a new framework what we've built. Like, I've been doing strategic introductions and community for multiple years, but not within a framework, a technical framework like this. So for us, it's in that sense, like from a technical aspect, a beta. And you guys know that as well, that like, hey, it's not perfect yet technically, but the value is there, but we're still testing out, you know, in the technicalities. And as it is at this price point, you guys are like, okay, that's fine, you know. So if we would already charge like the 5K or whatever, well, we will go to at a certain point, then it has to be smooth, then it has to be slick. And now it's fine if there's a glitch and all these things, right? So it gives us space to develop, to gather feedback, to improve, and as we go, increase and offer even more value and a more customized experience.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And as it does evolve, do you see that number 50 remaining, or do you see it expanding in numbers?
Yes. So basically, we are gonna soon do another launch, basically. So the second batch of people. And the minimum participants that we want to get in is again 50 up to 100. And
but that will be a separate group, as like a standalone from the current group, or would it be intermixed?
It's going to be one big group, and that is a great question because we have spoken about that a lot in the team. Because you guys know each other and it feels trusted. Now a new group of people comes in. So we thought about it. This the smart thing to do. It has its pros and cons, and I think that the pros are bigger as we let them into your group, is because you want network expansion, you want to have new energies, you want to have people who are excited, and like you have spoken to many people in the network now that were already valuable for you. So how long? Yes, you can collaborate, and that's the whole intention, to find the right people. Let's say from the 50 people, maybe you find maybe 2 or 3 people that you really collaborate with. Like, there's also a limit to how many people you can collaborate with. We all have business. We all have, you know, we're doing our day-to-day life and work. So you cannot endlessly call with people and endlessly develop new collaborations and products and services. However, after a quarter, so we have almost had a quarter now with the inner circle, you want to get new connections. Because how long can you go within the same circle? You know, in a community is always, you have, let's say, a 30% that's super engaged. Then you have like another 30% who's engaged, but he come in, taps in and out. You have maybe 20%, you know, they're listening on the background. And sometimes they, you know, send a message, or I get a message from them. And you have 20% who just bought it and just not participate. And it's always with memberships or with courses. And that is fine. You want to have new energy, because I want to feed you new connections, right? So that's why we decided to bring everything in one group. Yeah.
And are there any, have you got any kind of rules of play in the background? Like, if people are completely inactive for a couple of months, like, do they need to relinquish their place because there's only a finite number of places available? Or are you just allowing that membership to ride for the duration regardless of their presence?
Yeah. I love it that you're asking these questions, because these are exactly the questions that we discuss in the team. Actually, we were considering to tell them like, hey, you need to be active, and you need to make your profile, or else we're going to remove your membership, and it's a no refund policy. However, I know that there's a few people in the group who are running very big and very busy businesses. And when you now force them, like they had interest, they want to be part of something, they want to be able to fall back on something. But when you now force them to engage, well, maybe now is not the time. Maybe they are got like whatever investment and they're onboarding new teams, and now they need to start talking within a network with other people to find potential collaborations. But they're already running multiple 7-figure businesses and they're just mega busy. Then you could create also like resistance and saying like, hey, Michelle, I paid for this. I want to be part of this. I am following it, and my time will come when I need something, right? So I want to give people that space as well. It's more like, if you're not active and you don't make a profile, we cannot connect you. I cannot do any recommendations. I don't know who you are, what you're working on. So yeah, you've paid. And if you're not active, the other people are not even missing you because they don't even know you exist. So no, ideally you want people there. But it's different because this is not a mastermind program for 6 weeks that you have to attend every call. It's just like a network club. And our biggest promise is like you get curated introductions or recommendations to the people who could be a good match for you based on the data that we have about you. And yeah, it's a very good question, because all these questions I've been thinking about, should we be very strict? We need to tax them. But I know as well, myself, I am part of multiple communities and I'm not always active. But when I need it, I like to have access to them.
Right. And
Yeah.
part of the work that I've been doing is to really see what our capacity levels are, like how many communities we can be a participant of, where you only get as much value as you give, don't you? So
Exactly.
I've been looking at mine recently, and there's one community that I've been part of for a couple of years that I've really got a lot out of. But the last couple of events that I attended, I did begin to feel that actually this isn't aligned with where I am right now. And I'm sad because I love all the people in it, but I just know that this chapter, I need to kind of be really leaning into a few other communities that I am feeling able to be more of an active participant of.
Yeah. And there's no right or wrong in it. Like, you evolve in your journey and you're part of communities to grow, to take a few nuggets out. And sometimes you find a community that you stick with for years. And sometimes that is a quarter. You're like, okay, this was great. And now I'm tapping into another industry or another product or service, or there's other things in your personal life that come up and you need to prioritize your kids, for example, right? Because outside of all of this, we have also our personal lives, which we, don't always have influence on. And so we need to also give space to people's personal lives, because it's not only the online world and only the online communities. I think those are a great support. Those are, these communities are provide a peace of mind, in sense of like, I have belonging. There's a group of people out there, even if I've never met them, that understand me or in the same boat. I can get the same energy. I can drop a question in the group and find solutions or find support. But it doesn't mean that you always have to be active. It's kind of like having a best friend. Your friend is there, but you don't have to call every day, right? So that the idea in the back of your mind, there is a group of people that I can fall back on, is just great. Yeah.
And that really speaks to part of the work that I've been doing over the last 3 years. So when I first moved to Canada, I'm someone that's traveled a lot. Like, I've lived in 10 different places, very much speak to you and the community of people that you work with. So I have a lot of people in my life, a lot of different pockets of communities that I've created and left. But I actually discovered when I came here to Canada that I hadn't actually been nurturing a lot of those connections for quite a while. And I
Yeah.
had been great at it. Like I was brilliant at it when I didn't have children and didn't have my own agency, and I wasn't juggling as many plates, and yeah, I got kind of sad about it, that I hadn't been nurturing the important people in my life. So I have been making a conscious change in that. But even when you said you got your best friend in the back of your mind, like for me, I actually started mapping the people in my life and discovered that even through that process, like sometimes it did make me a little bit sad, because I'm like, wow, I have these incredible people, but they're kind of on the outskirts and it doesn't feel like they're in my life. But actually seeing them on paper helped to know that they are
Yeah.
there. And I know that our
Yeah.
paths will cross again. And I can take inspired action to reconnect with them. And I have
Yeah.
been doing a lot of that over the last couple of years. Um, Something that's intriguing me is, so far, I know a lot of the people that have come into the community have been attendees at your retreats, the Nomad Escape retreats.
Yeah.
Have you yet experienced it the other way? Because if you haven't, then it's like definitely coming. But people that have been part of your like inner circle that actually you haven't met yet, and then they're going to come to a retreat. And I'm so curious as to how this hybrid, the feel of these hybrid relationships are going to be experienced.
Yeah, we had both ways. And I think that both ways, actually, it doesn't really matter, because as well online as offline, we have a certain energy, I think, and the way we run the community, how we communicate with people, that is very similar in online, offline. Only offline, you receive hugs with it, and we hold each other and we have a lot of fun as well, right? And do more, like let's say outdoor activities. But the vibe, the energy, the support, the positivity is very similar. So that's the feedback that I get. Like when people know me from online and then they meet me in offline, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited to finally meet you. I've been following you." For me, it's so strange. I'm like, "Oh, that's so weird that people say that to me." But the feedback I constantly get is like, "Wow, you're exactly the same as like online, like of course I present in a certain way if I really need to host a webinar or a presentation, but I have a very similar energy in real life, and it feels very trusted. And the other way around is that people are in the retreats and they say, hey, I want to get, keep connected and then stay connected and want to have this energy, keep on going. And yeah, then they join online. So it's a very organic way of staying connected. And then we have also people who join the retreat and they don't want to join online. They're not online people. And we have people who join the online community and they will not attend the retreats because for multiple reasons. They'd rather join online because they can do it from home. They're busy. They cannot always travel for whatever reason that might be. So there's something now for anyone with any type of circumstances, as long as they have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Mm. And just thinking about like social well-being. So this is the area that
Yeah.
I'm really interested and passionate about. So it's basically when there's an absence of loneliness. So you're feeling like your social needs are completely met. And I do wonder, being the beating heart of this community, is this community helping to satisfy your social needs and your social well-being?
Very interesting question. When I started the Nomad Escape, it was from a pain point. Me as an online entrepreneur. So before I did the Nomad Escape, I was a marketer, or I taught myself digital marketing, let's say like that. And I got my first clients. And I traveled the world and I realized, okay, in that sense, I made it. That was location independent. That was my goal, to be location independent, living in Bali, having a nice Instagram, like having the dream life, whatever that might be. A lot of people dream about. And I found out that it's amazing, but it can become very lonely, even though you're traveling. And I started talking with many people about it. And like they also experienced totally the same. And especially for business owners, because our brains are a little bit differently wired, because you're always on, you're always thinking about it. It's your baby. What can you create more? And like, okay, which campaign are we going to run, or who do I need to hire? Or I had a conversation with this client and it's still stuck in your mind. It just, unfortunately it never shuts off, and you always are craving for growth. And even though you go to an amazing event, you meet amazing people, having conversations about this is very particular. And for me personally, even though I met a lot of people, that specific part was not met while I was traveling around and not meeting the right people. I met maybe the right people, but then you needed to ask the right questions to identify that they had the same needs, or else it stays quite shallow. And that's what I did. I started interviewing people, like, hey, what are your biggest challenges? And finding out the loneliness or the need for let's say a mastermind group, a support group, entrepreneurial support group. And then I was like, okay, let's create for people like myself. That start became one crazy long ride of doing many trips and retreats back to back for 4 years, 5 years. But in the pandemic, we were forced to stop because of the pandemic, but we were running a trip at that time. That trip, the 2-week trip, turned out in a 5-month trip with this group who thought they would join us for 2 weeks. They stayed for 5 months because no one wanted to go home. The world closed down. There was an official lockdown. I can remember that day so clearly, and watch news and like there's official lockdown, state of emergency, and I am running a entrepreneur trip on Azores Islands with people from South Africa, from Italy, from Estonia, from Canada, from US. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what that means, a pandemic or a lockdown. I've never been in this. And yeah, those I told everyone, guys, go home, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you're going to meet your family or whatever. And everyone said, no, we want to stay with you. Yes. So long story short, these people sticked together and it became a 5-month nomad escape. So which we thought was 2 weeks became 5 months. And then after the world opened a little bit. So I told those people, go home now you can. But I started running out of finance because we were not operational as we were. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to run these programs. I'm going to run like these network retreats, basically. And I sold so much back to back, like 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. We sold one after the other. We were the only organization in the pandemic that was still doing this. We were crazy. People like, how do you do this? But people wanted to get out. Yeah. They were craving. And then once they got a flight, they were like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to meet these people. So that whole period ended up in doing, I don't know, like 15 retreats almost back to back, having this 5-month nomad escape, before that building a startup, and after that doing also multiple retreats, which brought me actually to the opposite of being lonely, is being overwhelmed by constant social situations. I never had a moment for myself. I was never alone. I was always surrounded with other people. So at a point, I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too much. And many people they tend to lean towards me because I'm very helpful and very caring and I want to help people. So people started leaning on me a lot, and I had a hard time with having boundaries there. So I became kind of like more a entrepreneur therapist or social worker. And that's also my background. I'm a social worker and a teacher. So that is within me, deeply rooted. So I'm naturally always, I tend to help people, but it was not healthy for me anymore. So I had to step down a lot on doing all these events and have a normal private life, because I was always surrounded with my community. And then I was like, no, I need my normal own house, because we were living in amazing, beautiful villas with a group of people, but it was never peace of mind for me because I was always running that community. So I had to force myself to have, let's say, a normal life living by myself, which led to, and this interesting that you're asking that now, actually the stage that I'm in currently, I start feeling that loneliness again. Because I had loneliness, I had an overload of social, and then I stepped back of hosting like so many retreats because I really needed mind space and also building online, products and services and more the company retreats that we're focusing on, which makes me work a lot alone behind the laptop from home or coffee shops or co-working. And I have great friends and I have even family here and stuff, but I do live by myself and I work with myself and I have a remote team, which is great, but I am physically alone most of the time. And I feel, and it's interesting that you asked that, for the last 2 weeks, heavily, that sense of loneliness creeping in again. And I do feel directly that it impacts your mental health. Like, for example, a conversation like this, I love this. Like, it's already gives me a lot of energy. Like these, that's why I also have a community. It lights me up. If I would do only still digital marketing of another job that I would not be in touch with people as I am now, I'm not sure if I could do this. I would probably find another job and I don't know, maybe be a teacher, what I was before. Only the complexity there is I tasted the freedom lifestyle, and I know there's way more freedom, way more opportunities, way more like a financial growth possible there than when you are a teacher and work every day 9 to 5. Maybe you have the school holidays, which is great. So that's a bit like the confusing part. Once you had a taste of this lifestyle, it's too good to be true. It's limitless, but it's also can become lonely. So this for me is a very good middle ground of still being connected with people and being free and working online. But now personally, I'm also like, hey, I feel now the urge, which I didn't have for a long time, to travel. So I'm now next week, I'm actually going for 5 months nonstop traveling, becoming really a digital nomad again, which I haven't done for a while.
Wow.
So, and I hope to get more inspiration there again and create communities also in the places where I am and host events and all that.
Where are you going?
I go first to Bulgaria to Nomad Bansko Fest to actually one of the keynote speakers to open the event. And then I go to Mind Valley in Tallinn,
Wow.
also there to host workshops. And then I go to my mom in the Netherlands. Then I go to Dubai for networking and meet friends. And then I go to Thailand to host, actually, and I have not announced that yet in the Nomad Escape, but I did market research to host a luxury retreat for single and successful entrepreneurs because I see such a big need for it in our community. In every retreat that we have, there's multiple very successful people that have a hard time finding a partner or friends who can travel with them that way. So we're in the it's in the creation phase, and I already have the first clients basically for that. So that would be then in Thailand, and then I'm invited to go to Buenos Aires to experience how Buenos Aires is for a retreat destination. So the government, they want to attract like people who run retreats and digital nomads related stuff. And then Morocco, there's a mindfulness retreat for entrepreneurs. And then I need to go back to Madeira Island to host my own retreats and Nomad Island Fest. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a year.
It's
So
crazy. Yeah.
maybe the sign is just embrace this moment whilst it does feel a little bit lonely. Just use it to just really reconnect with self. And actually, that's
Yeah.
the first step in my program. Ask yourself all the kind of questions that you would want to be asking to a new best friend and like really melt into this time with you that you have because it's going to get busy.
Then you need sometimes to taste the opposite again to realize what you had, right?
I think the last question, kind of building on that last point on kind of the loneliness thing, but also the professional and personal and the boundary or the zero boundary that there potentially is. Because I imagine all the people that you're having on your retreat, they're the kind of people that when you were living in Bali, you would have wanted them to be your best mates. But then you,
Mm.
as the facilitator, as the host, it's like finding that boundary between the two. How have you navigated that, or how are you navigating that?
Yeah. Well, that was actually the story that I just shared with you from being like overload of community and social interactions made me actually pretty not distant, but like, hey, I'm here to facilitate, I'm here to help you. But besides that, this is my business and it's my work. It's hard to see for people because it feels like a leisure, like we're facilitating workshops, but then at the beach and ocean front and beautiful, and then we party and we go all doing fun stuff and out for dinners. So it feels like it's free time, but there's a whole framework behind it. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people want to hang out and then travel together. And and then I'm like sometimes just pretty distant and I don't answer my phone always because there's so many people wanting to be my friend, which is great. And I would love that. But mathematically, it's just like impossible. I do have my own friends. And actually, a big part of my own friends right now is from the Nomad Escape as well. So my best friends are at the end from Nomad Escape. And like, I think 10 of them live now here on Madeira Island, which I see on a consistent basis and became really my best friend and my core. But then all the new people coming in, yeah, potentially from every group, there's one, two people that I'm like, hey, like this is like really cool. But it's just impossible time-wise to maintain contact with everyone. So me not living with them in a house, that's already very like having that boundary, obviously, and just going home. And then after the retreat, it's like, okay, it's until 12 o'clock and then it's done. And say, sorry guys, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pack, check out. Instead of hanging then at the pool and going there and another outdoor exploration, because then it never ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's
from my conversation with Robin Dunbar, so he identifies the different spheres of intimacy that we have with our friends, and he said it's our closest 12 to 15 who have the biggest impact on our health and happiness, and we should be
mm,
spending about 60% of our social time on this core of 12 to
mm,
15 people.
yeah.
Which
That's very important. Yeah, and that's why it's so. I think like the whole core of the Nomad Escape, it's all about your network and your community and your environment, and being very conscious about okay, indeed, like who do you spend your time with? It's a very cliche sentence for most people in entrepreneurship, but like you are the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with.
yeah.
So study those people, and then you understand the stage that you're at. And then it's up to you to assess and to find out, is this aligned with the goals that I have or the
Mm,
situation that I want to be in? And there's no hard feeling around that. It doesn't have to, there's no judgment towards the other people, but it's more an assessment on your own situation of like, where am I now? Where do I want to be? And the people around me, does that contribute? And I believe that people like us, we are constantly seeking for growth, and everything is constantly changing for anyone and everyone in the world, but specifically for the people who seek growth. And then it's inevitable that you sometimes will leave certain social situations or environments, or else you're kind of stagnant. So where are you going to grow, right? And it's our own responsibility, I think. And then that is where growth can happen if you're open to it.
100%. I so resonate. I went to a TEDx a couple of weeks ago, and the theme was "It's up to us." And that has
Yes.
really stayed in my mind. And it
Yeah.
really is. Our social well-being is up to us. We are the ones that need to take the inspired action. So
Yes.
I have so enjoyed this conversation, Michelle. It's been such a
You.
thrill to like go that level deeper with you, to really understand your motivation and to really get excited about what's coming next. So I'm thrilled to be part of your community, and I look forward to seeing where it all goes and being with you on this journey.
Thank you so much. It was really, really an honor to be here.